Alright, so now today we're going to be doing some maintenance on this Kawasaki right here. One of the common problems with this bike and many bikes is a starter. It's an older bike, the starter is sticking. This could be a cause for a number of reasons. The cause why this one is sticking is simple. The bike was left outside in the cold for a few days, and it's an older bike, and this is an electric motor for an electric start. So even electric motors take a lubricant. Not WD-40, not stuff like that, but they take a special kind of electrical lubricant for the motors that keep them good. So after aging, some wear and tear, natural wear and tear of the lifespan of the motor, there might be times where it dries out and it starts to stick. It's a common thing. Something may dust or some dust may get in there. For any reason, it sticks. Okay, so now a few tricks that could be done to this is basically you put the key into the bike, you turn the key, you release the cut switch, and then you begin to hit the ignition and you tap on the starter so that it can unstick. This is only for starters that have a sticking problem. The tapping may solve that. You don't want to go too crazy and damage the bike, but you want to give it enough taps to where it gives it a vibration. I would use like a ballpoint hammer or a regular hammer or a small hammer, something like that you can tap to give it enough shake in there. You don't want to give it too much of a tap to where it'll break. In some instances, you may be able to use a rubber mallet just to get it going, and then rubber mallet won't cause no damage to the casing. Now, this is opinional, and this is what I do with my bikes. By all means, don't take this as set in stone or facts, because I don't want to be responsible for mistakes that may be made by others that took things in a different understanding and they went about it wrong. So this is all optional. You can do your homework, but if it's something that you can take and learn from it, even greater. Alright, so now I'm gonna, before I get to that process, what I'm gonna do is I want to clean off the contact points on the relays, the battery, etc., etc., just to make sure that there's a solid connection. I know that the problem is a sticking starter, so it's not relays, it's not the solenoid, but I just want to go over those things because since I'm going to be charging the battery, I'm going to have access to that area anyway. Might as well service it while I'm doing it, kill two birds with one stone. So now on this bike, I have to use an Allen key to release the bolts on the seat. It may differ for other bikes. So this is how I release the seat on this one. Put them in an area where they're not going to get mixed up or lost and have easy access to them. So now I just want to jiggle this a little bit so that there it goes, it can unsit itself. So got that off there. Set that aside. Now at this point you will have, let me bring the camera in for a closer look. Okay, so here we are. Okay, so now that seat basically locks in here. It has a part that locks in here, and it locks under here, and it grips down, and then you bolt it here so that it stays set in place and braced by over there where it locks in at. So now here is the battery cover that also has a funnel for the filter, for the air filter box. So this is already released. I have it released because you can tell that I service this bike a lot, or I deal with the battery area a lot. You can tell because I already have the bolts taken off. So I do that for easy access because I've been charging the battery every once in a while. I put it on a trickle charger, and it's easier for me to access it, and plus it sits in place anyway. Once the seat's on, it's not going anywhere. So this is already released. So you would have a bolt here, a bolt there, and not really a bolt, screws. So these happen to be Phillips, they're already removed, so you want to slide this back, take this off. It obviously it will differ for different bikes. You know, this is not all the same. This is not one fits all. You know, one shoe fits all. Like, no, one size fits all. Excuse me. All right, so here we are. All right, so this is a 12-volt battery that's in there. You have batteries that may give out a certain amp and volts. So say for example that's a 12 volt, right? You may have some that give 12 volt and the right amperage as the same as the one that's there and it requires on that bike. But the batteries hold more power. What I mean is batteries that have longer term lifespan as far as power wise, that it'll last longer to give more juice. You have more days or hours or whatever the case may be before you have to take it out, charge it, if you have to take it out, charge it. So now this over here, there's a part that connects to the wiring that recharges the battery. So once you go above a certain RPMs and you're riding the bike, you go over a certain amount of RPMs, it now starts to charge the battery. You can be riding your bike, but if you don't pass that point for a certain amount of time, even if you're riding the bike, it won't charge the battery. That's why a lot of individuals be like, I rode my bike, but the battery seemed to die. Do I have a faulty circuitry? You know, is something draining my battery? And that may not be the case. The case may be is you're not breaking that limit of RPMs and not doing it for a sufficient amount of time to where now the battery's charging at the proper capacity. So you may not getting past that point, and then you're just straight running off battery power. So now with the lightings and everything that's on the bike has a certain battery required for it. So if the bike has that battery, a lot of people say, oh, well, your lights may be draining, this may be draining. No, nothing is draining. The bike is made specifically for the purposes of withstanding and for duration of the proper voltage with amperage for a certain amount of time, and then continuation of charging while using the vehicle. Now, I say what I mean by that is that you can't say, oh, using the lights is causing this or causing that. No, the bike was made as it is from the manufacturer. The lights came manufactured from the manufacturer, installed on the bike. So by all means, it's not saying what the manufacturer basically sold you a bike that, hey, yeah, it turns the bike on, but it's not going to be enough power to run your lights. Like, no, it all works together. It's one functional unit. So now, other reasons may be the cause of why your battery's dying out or why your battery's not holding a charge for long. So in any case here, I'm gonna charge this one up, like I was saying, and you may want to do the same thing if your battery's running low. Alright, so release that. You always want to make sure that when you're releasing the contact points, that at no time should you tap any metal point that has current to the frame. You don't want to short out no wiring, you don't want to cause no problems to the harness or to your vehicle, so you just want to be careful with not making contact. Now, you don't want one end to ground out and mess up anything, so you gotta be very careful. And especially you gotta watch out with any shocks. And what I mean by that is like if there's a shock part, like sparks, anytime you do something that causes a spark, that's not good. That could cause shorts, and also it's not good because you're working around gas. The batteries are usually right by where the gas tank is. So you want to be careful. I mean, the gas is housed in its compartment, but still, you know, it's always, safety is always key in everything that you do. Alright, so back to what I was just talking about in regards to the battery. So yeah, so if the vehicle is not going above a certain speed for a certain amount of time, it may not even be charging the battery. In a lot of cases, you would have wiring that's it may be corroded. It may, for any reason, it may not have direct contact at the points, at the joint points, causing a drop in current, drop in amperage, drop in whatever in this process of the bike charging itself, which will lead to the battery not being fully charged. You know, and just allowing the battery to run off itself, killing out the battery. So every once in a while you want to go on like a highway or open road and take the bike for at least a good 15 minutes straight at a certain speed, so that every once in a while you do that, it'll keep charging back the battery. So now we have this removed. Let me see if you can see in there. I might have to move the camera over a little bit. Alright, I may have to just take it off the stand completely. Show you real quick. Alright, so right down there, right over here, that's the solenoid. As you can see, that's the solenoid. So the starter on this bike is right here. As you can see, it's already beat up, so you can tell that it's been sticking a few times that this happened. And obviously, if the bike's been working, then you know the tapping, I have been resolving it by tapping it, and that's actually the problem. So I'm gonna try tapping it and getting it to work that way, but in any event that it seems to give a little hassle, or if it works but I'm not comfortable with it, then I'm gonna service this whole thing, the whole starter, which would mean is I would be removing this case and getting to that starter to service it. So that may be a video that you may be seeing, so you want to stay tuned just in case I do that, so you can see that process. Alright, so there's that bike. So now we're going to go over here, and I'm using this charger, this battery tender right here, 12 volt, 1.25 amperage. So it has charging and then storage charge. When the battery's dead, it'll go to the red light will be on, and then once the battery is full, it'll go to the green light, which also means that it's charging at the same time that it's full on a trickle, which means it's a smart charger. So it never overcharges the battery, and then every time the current drops in the battery, the amount of power drops, it'll keep feeding it so that it never goes beyond or never goes below that point. So it regulates it at that point. So this is what you want to use. That one, I won't suggest using this one. That is the one that goes between 2 amp and 10 amp. So that may not be good, because 1.25 is what's recommended for this type of battery right here, this type of 12 volt. Anything above 1.25, like 2 amps and 10 amps, will actually destroy the battery. So let me pause this and I'll get back to you guys soon. Thanks.